Hey, I'm Witt, and I'm here at Quilter Labs talking about the Steelaire combo, the Steelaire Pro, and the Steelaire rack mount. And we're going to be going through some of the ways that they differ and the ways that they're similar in this video. What I have in front of me right now is the Steelaire combo, and I want to walk you through some of the front panel features here. All the way to the left, you have a couple of inputs. You could either just use the Guitar 1 input and then use gain 1 and gain 2 as different gain settings that are foot switchable, or if you play two different guitars, one has low output pickups, another one has high output pickups, you can set those accordingly. Or if you play just a totally different instrument like a fiddle or something like that, you can plug that into the second input, switch back and forth, and have them set up. So having said that, I mentioned gain 1 and gain 2. Those are right here in the next section over. So you have your gain 1 knob, your gain 2, and a handful of different settings for how you want to handle that. You can either foot switch between 1 and 2, or you can stack 1 and 2 and have those on at the same time. There's also a mute here in case you wanted to unplug something. So you have that. That's fairly straightforward. If we go over to the EQ section, we've added a fourth knob. In the Aviator series, we had bass, middle, and treble. It's a little bit more straightforward. On the Steelaire, we really wanted to give you a lot of control over that mid-range content. Now, the bass knob is pretty easy because it gives you the lowest lows, the thundering fullness. The treble gives you all the cutting, articulation, the brightness, essentially. In the mid-range, they've given you a low mid and an upper mid. And the low mid is where kind of the warmth is gonna come from. All the growliness, something that's gonna sound nice and full and punchy. The upper mid is going to be the vocal-like quality. If we move to the right of that EQ section, now what we have are three knobs in this section that control the limiter and the tremolo circuit. Now let's get to the limiter first because that's a pretty fancy knob right there. On the surface, what the limiter is doing is it's going to limit the loudest parts of your signal. It's definitely going to dial the gain back, or it's going to dial the perceived volume back, but it's actually going to trade off something for you. It's going to increase the sustain. So think of how we would normally play some amps that have higher gain to them. Whenever we want to hit a big chord and have it ring out forever, the way we would normally do that is to add some distortion or add some overdrive in the amp circuit. What the limiter is going to allow you to do is just have the pristine clean, because remember it's going to back off that gain, even if the gain is turned all the way up, but it's going to increase the sustain. So we can either go gang and get a ton of gain out of the amp, or we can increase the limiter and it's going to keep the amp pristine and clean, but also give you all that sustain that you would want. And it's dynamic, so that limiter knob can be set anywhere you want it. So it can be anywhere from off and give you all the snarl that you want, or you can dial in some of that clean sustain. Moving to the right of that, we have a tremolo and a rate knob. Turning counterclockwise is going to make that tremolo more shallow to where it's subtle. If I turn it clockwise, it's going to be really deep. It's actually going to feel like the amp is almost turning on and off really quickly. And then the rate is going to be the speed that you're hearing the tremolo. And again, both the limiter and the tremolo circuit are foot switchable. If I move just to the right of the tremolo section, what I've got is three knobs controlling reverb. The first one is going to be the reverb knob, and that's controlling the mix. So if I have it all the way off, you shouldn't get anything at all. If I have it all the way on, the reverb signal is mixed in really hot. So you get a lot of it. I'm going to set that right at noon. If I go next to the dwell knob, what that's doing is it's controlling the tail, or the length of the reverb signal. Think of a short dwell setting as kind of a small room that are plaster walls and wood floors, and you kind of go, right? That's what that's going to sound like, kind of a short reverb tail. And then it goes away pretty quickly. If I turn the dwell up, kind of think of how long it dwells, how long it stays around. This long, long sizzle. So. Then the last knob in that circuit is the tone knob. Some people would want the tone all the way up so that their reverb tail is really bright and sizzly. Some people would want it all the way down so it sounds really old and lo-fi and dark. One more thing I can show you that you're not seeing on the front of the amp is that you have a foot switchable effects loop in the Steelaire combo, actually in all the Steelairs. What that's going to give you is the ability to put anything in the effects loop, but it gets better than that. We actually have a 9-volt DC power supply on the back of the amp. So you may not love reverb, you may not love tremolo, but if you're one of those players that just has to have delay, well then we can power it all for you and put it in the loop. So if I turn on a delay pedal and turn on the effects loop, one cool thing that every Quilter amp has is a pretty fancy direct out. As opposed to some other direct outs where they tap into the gain structure, Quilters tap into the speaker itself, which that affords you a couple of cool liberties. First of all, you don't have to place a mic on the amp to get a great recorded tone or a great live tone, so no mics necessary. The second thing is that you don't necessarily have to have a speaker load on the amplifier. So if you wanted to record late at night, you could use the direct out and then literally unplug the speaker, so the amp doesn't need the speaker load to stay healthy. You know what? You can hear it for yourself. Let's just switch back and forth. I'm going to play something, and then we'll let you hear the mic'd version. We'll let you hear the direct version at the same time. All right? So here's the mic'd version. Now here's the direct out version. One of the best ways to take advantage of your Steelaire amplifier is to be able to control some of these functions remotely. Now, this one has the electric guitar player in mind, and it's a foot pedal. Again, 6 controls remotely with your feet, and it's controlled by Cat 5 cables. We have 2 inputs back and back, so you can either control 2 amps with 1 foot pedal, or you can put it however it's convenient for mounting on your pedal board, be it a right side input or a left side input. Again, it's a Cat 5 cable, so these cables are really easy to come by any computer store, or you could actually just grab one off of a computer locally in the venue or something. The second one is really made for the steel guitar player. It attaches right onto the leg of the steel guitar. Same thing, it allows you to control 6 functions with your fingertips. Now this is the best way to get the most out of your Steelaire amplifier. Included with both the Steelaire Combo and the Steelaire Pro is a nylon reinforced cover, really thick, high quality. This is the front that I'm holding right here. It's actually got a piece of plastic that is inside the lining of it. So if you were to take a screwdriver or something and you're actually going to try and poke it through the front, you actually can't get to the speaker. And if you really want to protect your investment, it's something like this that becomes just not just an added feature, but really a necessity. You know, it's worth pointing out that this is the same material that they use for bulletproof vests and stuff like that. So if you ever plan on playing in honky tonks or shooting your amps, you should be good to go. We're now looking at the back of the Steelaire Combo and the Steelaire Pro. Both of them have similar feature sets on the back: the 9-volt tap, the direct out, the foot switch port, the FX loop send and return, ability to add an extension cab. All those things are common. The Steelaire Pro has a couple things that are what I'll call added features. This red thing right here is a thumb screw that allows you to pull the head out, but just to the right of that is a little pass-through pocket. And the pass-through pocket allows you to take the effects loop cables, the 9-volt power supply, all that stuff, and actually push it down through these pockets to be able to have stuff in the back of the amp. Now really what that's for is for the gigging professional who's all about getting on and off stage quickly, who wants to grab this amp, pull it off stage, throw the cover, have it on the bus, on the van, the trailer, whatever, almost immediately. So what this is really made for is the professional musician who wants to have everything kind of contained and ready to roll.